Scholars have identified three literary traditions in Genesis, as in Deuteronomy, usually identified as the Yahwist, Elohist and priestly strains. The Yahwist strain is a Judean rendition of the sacred story, perhaps written as early as 950 before the Common Era. The Elohist strain is traceable to the northern kingdom of Israel and was written 900 to 700 before the Common Era. The priestly strain is usually dated in the 5th century before the Common Era and is regarded as the law upon which Ezra and Nehemiah based their reform. Because each of these strains preserves materials much older than the time of their incorporations into a written work, Genesis contains extremely old oral and written traditions. There are no examples of Genesis being written before 950 before the Common Era. This is at least 300 years later than John claims Moses writes it. The last parts of Genesis to be written were written in the 5th century before the Common Era. According to the Bible, Moses was 120 when he died. This means that Moses would have had to have lived significantly longer than his already advanced age in order to achieve this feat. Before I move on to the next problem, it is worth pointing out that the statement from the article, Genesis contains extremely old oral and written traditions, presents us with a plethora of difficulties in itself, which range from how the tribes that wrote Genesis actually amalgamated to how they borrowed pre-existing legends which later became part of the book itself. Of course, this is all academic, because in truth, there is absolutely no evidence to suggest that Moses wrote Genesis anyway. This is largely because there is no historical evidence to suggest that Moses ever existed. Unless you're going to accept the Bible as historical evidence, which then takes you into the fallacy of circular reasoning. To accept Moses as the author, regardless of the scientific evidence against it, also presents another huge problem. If he is to be believed to have written all the books he is credited with, then he essentially wrote about his own death.